Welcome back to the award-winning Travel Planners Radio Show with your hosts, Kevin and Sue McCarthy.
Hey, it's Peter Greenberg here. You're listening to the Travel Planner Show with Kevin and Sue McCarthy, and don't say I didn't warn you.
Thank you, Peter. I think this is a fun segment because I have been an audiophile. I've had stereos. When I was 10 years old, I wanted a tape recorder. Unfortunately, I never could afford what we're going to talk about, and that's changed too because it's much more of an affordable product now. I'm talking about Klipsch Audio. If you've not heard of them, let's do a little comparison. You have Chevys, and then you have Cadillacs, and if you want a really great car, you go for a Maserati or a Lamborghini or something. And this is the Maserati and Lamborghini of stereos. Mr. Jim Hunter, welcome to the Travel Planners Radio Show. Tell us about the Klipsch Museum of Audio History.
Well, thank you very much. Paul Klipsch had a collection of stuff when I arrived about 1978. And I am an antique collector, so as he would say, it was like waving a bull in front of a red flag. We expanded it into actually a corporate museum, and I managed that until I retired in 2015. The company realized they didn't really have anybody to continue taking care of it. So we sweet-talked them into donating everything to a nonprofit that we created. And that nonprofit is the Klipsch Heritage Museum Association. And since then, we've still been adding to the collection. We are soliciting memberships. If you'd like to become a member, you can check us out at klipschmuseum.org. Because we are completely separate from the Klipsch speaker company at this point.
Right. And that's spelled Klipsch. And Paul started out making a rather unique style of loudspeakers, shall we say. He was in the Army.
Paul in the night.
Go ahead.
Well, before he went to the Army in the 1930s, he was very interested in speakers, and he started working on a speaker that he hoped would bring movie theater quality sound into the home. At the time, high fidelity was the purview of the movie theaters.
Sure.
And the speakers were absolute monsters in size. And so his goal was to create a speaker that you could get in the living room with the qualities behind the movie theater screens.
And that's what's known as the folded horn, if my memory is correct. The folded
horn, because all the movie theaters were big, long horns.
Sure. I know for our listeners, that's kind of like a megaphone. And you're obviously not going to have a big megaphone, although I believe it was Elector Voice had some little speakers that had a huge brass horn on them. If you like screechy audio, that's what you got. But Klipsch decided to fold up the horn on itself back and forth, and you still got the quality of that large horn in a smaller cabinet. And as they say, the rest is history. They're still making speakers, right?
Yes. The speaker is in its, I believe, 77th year of production now.
Wow. Where are you located?
We are in Hope, Arkansas, which is in the southwest corner of Arkansas, probably 30 miles from Texarkana and 100 miles north of Shreveport, Louisiana.
Oh, well, that sounds like a good road trip, Sue.
Yes, it does.
We're going to have to come see you and include you in our TV show as well. Is there a charge for the museum?
There is not. We're very short-staffed. I'm kind of it for the tours. So we do tours by appointment. Now, we do have a visitor center. It's a separate building, and that is open on a more regular basis. But for the actual museum tour, it's appointment only, and you should contact Jim at klipschmuseum.org.
Definitely will do, and we will, I assure you, we're coming your way, hopefully in the very near future. What's some of the other items of interest, for example, in the museum?
Well, Paul was very interested in photography. So we have his 1928 16 millimeter movie camera. Then we've got all the way up to his 1960s Polaroid land camera. And we have hundreds of photos and thousands of slides, that he has done.
Yeah.
During World War II, he was actually doing stop-action photography of bullets in flight.
Wow. That's pretty hard to do in that era of you're talking about a very high-speed camera.
Yeah,
anything
really.
he got into.
Yeah. You mentioned that he wanted to recreate the theater sound. Is there a theater in the museum, in the organization?
We have a mid-30s RCA movie theater speaker in the museum, and I use that to point out this is what he miniaturized into a Klipsch horn.
When I was go ahead.
We also have leased the old city auditorium from, it's about 1926. And just yesterday, we test drove full-scale movie theater speakers in that theater.
Excellent. Yeah, there were, of course, I guess the standard at the time was called the voice of the theater speakers. But when I was in the Army, I decided to build some speakers.
It was for a long, long time after RCA and Western Electric.
Sure.
Western Electric was the very first.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I'll have to check that out. I built a set of speakers, and I got a book and figured out the dimensions for an 8-inch speaker. Took a cabinet that probably weighed 100 pounds or more, and it was more like a piece of furniture. It's very acoustics are something that just fascinate me, and what the human ear can hear and can't hear, etc. But the Klipsch Heritage Museum sounds like a place that, if you're interested at all in audio systems and how it's evolved over the years, you got to go there, right?
Yeah, it is the only museum we're aware of in our subject area. And at the Visitor Center, you can actually listen to a 1950s system with Klipsch horns from the 50s. All the electronics is 50s restored.
Oh, wow.
So you can step back
tube type.
in time.
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
We've got to go, Sue.
I know, you're ready.
What is the address so that our listeners can jot it down and come see you?
The Visitor Center is in town, and that's 403 West Division Street, Hope, Arkansas. And if you want to actually come out to the museum, it's at the factory, which is 5 or 6 miles away. And that's 136 Hempstead 278.
Jim, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. And for our listeners, by the way, the Klipsch audio systems and speakers now are much more relatively affordable than they used to be. So hopefully your system and mine will have some of those soon. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. And thanks for being on the Travel Planners Radio Show. Don't go away. We've got our regular feature of travel news and travel tips next.